for you, Pastor, and then you all will each ask a question of each other. Mike Huckabee ran a television ad in Iowa and South Carolina which identified himself as a Christian leader, in quotes, and showed him telling voters, quote, "Faith doesn't just influence me, it really defines me." That same ad was not running in New Hampshire, a critical early primary state with a less evangelical composition than Iowa and South Carolina. Then, about a month before the New Hampshire primary, the Wall Street Journal reported that during a 3-day campaign swing through the state, this is New Hampshire, where economic conservatives outnumber religious ones, Governor Huckabee did not mention his faith, abortion, or marriage unless he was specifically asked for it. So here's my question. Do you think Governor Huckabee used his faith selectively during the course of his campaign, and if so, how might you have advised him differently?
Do we get rebuttal time on these?
Yes. I'm sorry, I skipped their rebuttals for each other. Why don't you answer this, so we'll connect the question with the answer, and then rebut. That's my mistake. I'm sorry.
I can answer that question real simply. I'm not an apologist for the Huckabee campaign, so I'm not going to defend what he did or didn't do. But what I would like to do is to respond right now to some of the things Jay said. First of all, I think it's important to note that Article 6 of the Constitution refers to government imposing a litmus test. It has nothing to say, obviously, about people choosing their candidates based on their own criteria, which may include faith. So nobody's here arguing that there ought to be a government-imposed religious litmus test. Secondly, Jay, I never said that issues were not important, that they were irrelevant. In the scenario I painted, you had two candidates whose views were very similar. One was a Christian, one was not a Christian. For example, to suggest that there would be a great conflict in my mind between voting for President Obama or Governor Romney in a general election just isn't the case. The fact is, if I were forced to make that decision between Obama and Romney, I would first of all have to try to make a judgment about Obama's faith, even though he's a professing Christian. Matthew 13 very clearly says not everybody who professes to be a Christian is a Christian. I would have to consider the fact that so many of his views are anti-biblical. I would have to look at some of his hostile feelings expressed toward those of faith, and I might come to the judgment, because he is so anti-biblical, that I do not believe his professed faith is relevant in the decision, and I very well might choose to vote for Governor Romney. However, the situation that we're discussing is where you have two candidates who are similar in a primary, perhaps such as a Huckabee and Romney, and I never have seen that many policy differences between those two men on the issues we conservatives care about: abortion, sanctity of marriage. The real reason that the Romney supporters give for choosing him over Huckabee is that, quote, he's more electable, or he has better fundraising skills and could go against the Democrat in the general election with a bigger war chest. And I'm saying, as a Christian, that is not a sufficient reason to vote in a member of a cult religion. I do not believe we can get into the game of trying to decide who is the most electable and who has the most fundraising capabilities. I believe Christians, when everything else is virtually equal, ought to select Christians as their rulers as opposed to unbelievers.